Back to the B side, Brad here. It's going to be kind of a chill stream tonight. It's a little bit cold outside. The temperature out here in the east coast of the U.S. is about 2. The temperature in my office is about 4. And I'm going to just kind of start working on the Daredevil part of a Daredevil cover. So last week did a lot of like little things with regard to like getting the scene, the kind of the scene blocked out and so forth. Mostly though, I worked on trying to get that double D thing made up. But Daredevil now, as he stands, again, mostly the pose is there. That was also a big part of last week, was just trying to get that pose. Kind of a weird pose and a little bit tricky, I think, because I think there's a little bit of liberties being taken with a 2D drawing as opposed to a 3D sculpt where you have to actually kind of like, make sense in 3 dimensions. So I'm just going to kind of work on, I want to actually have him done and painted tonight. I want to, again, one of the cool things about doing the comic stuff for 3D printing and so forth is that it's a comic look, so there's not a whole lot necessarily of like surface detail so much as just having the overall shape so that you can kind of get the the paint to go the way it's supposed to. So I kind of want to see if I can get him mostly done tonight. The background, all those kind of pieces, they're not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. There's a lot of like repetition, but there have been some background things done. For example, this silo here, I can talk about just ways to kind of get this. You can see here in the reference image, there's a lot of like these kind of rather obvious little sketchy lines being drawn here and across the top here, and I want to kind of be able to do that relatively easily without having to worry too much about being kind of stuck with doing a bunch of lines. So this is just a noise pattern that I kind of made from a JPEG, and I kind of made the same thing, a similar thing for the roof. So again, there's little things to kind of make things a little bit easier for me, but all I'm going to be doing right now, for the most part, is focusing on Daredevil himself, trying to get this, this body set up. So, like I said, I'm not going to be going too methodically here. I'm just going to actually try and knock this out because most of this is going to be in the paint. Obviously, there's going to be some sculpting to kind of give me those crevices and so forth. But I do want to see about getting those D's on his chest and just start, just sculpting and painting. So really straightforward. Like I said, a very, really chill stream tonight. So I'm just going to bring in that Daredevil D, and I'm just going to jump right in with this because this is the part that I just want to make sure works. That the matchmaker brush is a little bit of a wild card when it comes to when I try it. So let's just see how lucky we get with this here. And again, you don't really see a whole lot of this in the image, but you do see it. You will see it on a 3D print because it is, he is separated from there. So I want to try and get the size of the D. The D is kind of similar, and hopefully, anyway, this is kind of where it goes. I think it could be about right. Might be a little bit too big. I'm not sure. I'll bring it down. Something like that. That might be good enough. Trying to see where it is visible on the image, and it's kind of close to that output area. So something like that might be okay. And don't look at how ridiculous he looks like this. But we'll try this. So let's go here to the matchmaker brush. Again, I have varying success with this brush, but that actually worked pretty well. Let's see if I can just kind of jam this in now. It actually worked pretty well. I can just adjust it a little bit manually, but for the most part. Hey Zujichi, how you doing, bud? Thanks so much for coming back again. It's so cool to see you again. Hopefully this will be useful. I'm going to try and do the kind of the comic painting style on this guy. So that seemed to work okay. Let's bring everything back here. Again, it's fine. So again, he's really kind of hugging that sphere here, and obviously it's not necessarily the way it should be, but I kind of need him to be close to it in order for this to work. Like I said, I think there's a lot of liberties going on with the drawing here. So when it comes to the printing, it's going to be probably just a big negative on the sphere to make that work. Or I'll just print it out as part of him. Who knows? That actually might be the case. I was thinking about that when I print this guy out. Instead of trying to kind of like conform him to the sphere using a Boolean, maybe I might just print that part out as part of the torso and just paint around it. That might actually be the way to go. So there we go. So we got the D's on there. That's actually a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be. So again, this is all going to be about trying to get the Daredevil himself to kind of be prepared for the paint job. The only other thing I think I need to do is I put a belt on him. I don't know. Again, I think I've seen different images and the belts are relatively straightforward, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I just got to make a little silver buckle-y thing, but I'm not going to get too ornate with that because I don't think that's really his style. He does have that little string on his thigh, which I guess is for the batons. So I think I'll just do that really fast, and then I'll start working on, again, I'll make it look like he's wearing boots, but for the most part, yeah, we're going to start doing some painting pretty soon. So let's go here to the leg, and just going to duplicate the leg. I could, because I want to get this line to go right around him. It's easier to do that by taking a copy of the leg and just basically getting the geometry from that. So I'm going to delete my lower and delete my higher. I'll delete hidden, and all I want to do basically is just get a string that goes around there. So I'm just going to just make a poly loop out of this loop. So I'll poly loop the poly loop and just grow that a little bit. So I'll get something like that. Let's do that. And then I'll slide this. So basically I just want to kind of make a nice little, I'm going to slide the entire edge, give myself a little wider edge here, and delete hidden. So now this is exactly, this is kind of exactly in line with his leg, right? So now I'm just going to extrude this to get myself some thickness. Now I am going to extrude it on the inside as well. I just never want to leave it the chance that it's going to be some gaps in between, especially if you're going to be printing. I want to make sure that it's essentially watertight. So I'm going to do that. Just going to insert an edge loop or two, just so it's not too rounded at the bottom. I kind of want it to be rounded. Of course, at the top it is going to be sort of a rounded thing. So I'll just bevel this edge just to kind of get this started. There we go. So now kind of like that, right? So now he's got that little string on his leg. It conforms pretty well to it. It might conform too well to it, but you can see here, because it is so snug, it's a little bit too much. So I'm just going to just lightly smooth. I'm in dynamic subdivision mode, right? So this is actually not quite so high res, and I can just smooth it down and again fake it, nudge it a little bit. There you go, very quick. Okay, so we got the little thing on there. Cool. I think he only has that one. I mean, he probably has two there, but let's just go stick with this one for now. I don't know what his boots situation is. Probably figure that out. But for now, let's focus on the paint job up top here anyway. I'm gonna go with the hands now and give them some resolution as well. So I do want to make sure that he has UVs, because if I send him something like Sketchfab, and I want to make sure that he has the maps, then make sure he's got that. So I'm just going to add a couple of edge loops. I'm also going to add a couple of edge loops to the knuckles here, just because if you turn this in, if you go to smooth mode, right, or dynamic subdivision mode, his fingers just get a little bit mushy, and I just want to kind of retain essentially some of the indentations, some of the knuckle areas here. So I'm just going to kind of just add support edges on either side of the finger, so that if I go to that, you can see here, it just kind of maintains that shape a little bit more. It's a little bit sharp, but again, we can fix that with a little bit of smoothing, whatever. But I found that it kind of helps to I keep missing. Having some issues with this edges here. There you go. I find it helps to kind of add some support edges around the knuckles. It just I don't know, it retains the shape a little bit better, and it makes it less arduous to go in there after the fact and try and retain some knuckle areas. At least kind of gives me a visual cue as to where they are. Sometimes I even put one at the base of the finger, just to kind of keep that somewhat separate, but mostly it's the knuckle itself. I just want to kind of maintain a little bit, not that juice. There you go. So that feels, again, it just kind of maintains that shape a touch more. You can see here, if you look at where the hand is, clearly something got a little bit wonky here. So let's get it up. A little bit of inflate and a little bit of smooth the modifier on. shift, let go, shift thing, where it kind of smooths but retains the volume, which is really useful. All right, there we go. That was weird. So let's go up here and subdivide this guy. And again, like I said, I want to kind of move somewhat quickly here, so I'm just going to subdivide twice and really just quickly and subtly just add in some form to the fingers here. So I'm just going to throw this out. Boom. Okay. I'll come in here. I'll go to solo mode, so I'm not distracted by everything else. It's a little bit of a weird shape to the hand here going on, but I mean, it's a weird looking shape to a lot of this stuff going on. This whole pose is one weird shape, so it's okay. I want to say that's part of the aesthetic. Oops. I kind of give this a little start, but like I said, for the most part, this is just going to be a few little lines here and there to kind of give the impression of the material, but for the most part, again, there's going to be a lot of painting doing the work here. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to with the print itself. I just think I've kind of gotten into the painting side of things, the actual painting of the models, and so I kind of have drawn the kind of the scopes and stuff where I'm not getting too bogged down in texturing so much as I'm just preparing myself for an actual practical paint job. This is where my lack of understanding of basic like fabric folds and reference going to show itself a little bit. I have the picture here, but I don't know if you can notice, but my cat Bucky is hogging the spotlight right now in front of the camera. Right? Like I said, it's very cold out here, and he's in the need of some warmth. Also, he wants to chew on my stylus, so there's some challenges, is what I'm saying. Right here, and bring in some knuckles. This is my very thorough professional method of making knuckles. I sculpt them up, and then I carve in where the little indentations are, and then I call it a day. Fill it out a little bit with clay, fill it up, and that's it. This is the extent of it. Been working on on Sunday of last week. I started the obscure Marvel character, and I was doing Jack of Hearts. So I've been having a lot of fun with that this week, working on my own. And that's what I want to do on Sundays, on the alternate Sundays when Ian's not sculpting. But if you haven't seen already the announcement, make sure you make a note that on Sunday at 9 Eastern time, 6 Pacific time, the Digital Forge with Ian Robinson is going to be IR Sculpts is going to be premiering. As you would guess, it's going to be awesome, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm so glad that Ian's here with Stylus League and going to start streaming with us. I get quite a cool stable of folks that I can sponge off of. Here again, just. I'm not. You can always come back to this and add detail afterward, but so much of this, like I said, this is going to be about, for me anyway, it's going to be about kind of trying to get that paint job looking cool. I'm going to divide this. Again, because the paint job that I'm doing is going to kind of use a lot of very kind of sharp lines. Everything is going to be kind of almost really abnormally high res to get those sharp mask lines that I want to get. So even something like this, which is not necessarily something that you would expect to meet a lot of points. I'm going to be subdividing quite a bit just because I want to get that those lines with the mask and stuff to kind of get the comic lines going on. So I'm using the Orb Cracks brush. I love Orb Cracks not just for carving it, but also for those little wrinkles. Just by holding on the Alt key, to kind of get I just really love this brush so much. but it's just my go-to for this kind of stuff. I just love. It's just so. It's very decisive. It just like carves in and does what it wants. It does the job. Right, so again, this it's a little bit weird, but it's on the other side of the baton, and it's not exactly the way it is in the picture. I'm gonna call it okay. So I'm gonna go here to the other glove. Let's do it again. So now before I do anything, let's go back to this glove. I'll go down to the lower side of the glove. But you'll see here that I have the fingers as their own polygroups, just because it's, when you're working on fingers, it's easier to isolate them. Same thing with the back part here. But also when I do UVs, I like the idea of the fingers as being separate pieces. So I go to my plugin UV Master, turn on polygroups. So when it unwraps them, it'll be a much cleaner UV unwrap, right? So at least that way is ready. At least now that guy is ready to go. If I paint it, I'm gonna do the same thing here. So again, this is because this is really for a 3D print, and it's not necessarily something that I need to worry about, like looked at like a image. I'm sculpting this with the idea that I'm going to be printing and painting it, and it's a comic book cover, so it's not a sideshow collectible. It's not going to be something where you have endless detail in there. It's just I just want to kind of get myself the raw materials that I can start playing with the overall look. And this is kind of the thing where sometimes it's a whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You can kind of, some of these things might not be amazing on their own, but because they're part of like this diorama look, it can kind of just, everything works well. And that's, again, part of the fun of doing this is that I'm not agonizing over details so much, just because I'm making essentially, like I said, like a diorama. Not everything needs to be 100% photorealistic or exactly what you see in the original. So okay, so again, just making sure that the edges are held. Look up here really quick. Onesie plugin and do a quick unwrap, and I'm gonna simplify. So again, you're just gonna get those little knuckles are gonna kind of retain their shape a little bit. Do a little inflate though; they're a little bit flat. These guys, so do this. Try this again, and again, still clearly pretty flat on the finger. So I'm just going to do a quick little inflate with them. This is another one where I was really focused, just looking on the way it looks in the image, and what I'm focused on is basically the the pose. So a little bit here, use their standard to kind of hold down Alt, get a little fold there, or wrinkle, or whatever the heck it is, and do my my highly skilled sculpting on the fingers, where I carve in one line and pull out another line next to it, and I call it a day. Something like that. And let's go to this finger. You might see what's going on with this, because everything's all crunched in, which is good. A little U shape. Like this. This is the only way I know to say, okay, here's cloth folding, make a U, and it's all good. It looks like that. Daredevil's no frills. A homemade suit. I don't know if it's homemade. Wait, there's a guy who makes a suit. I can't remember his name. So it's not homemade. Well, it's somebody's home, I imagine. I'm gonna build this up a little bit. A little bit of clay build up here. Probably need to make this a little bit more like a thumb. To be honest. I'm not overly concerned about this. I think for the most part, again, looking at the glove there, it's just, I'm much going on. So I'm okay with this. I'm just going to be really fast about this. I want to start painting. Put it down there. All right, fantastic. Now you can see here with the with Daredevil himself, I did a little bit of stuff here. I've kind of given him some really basic indications of where I think the muscles are based on the picture. He's not a huge dude. He's actually fairly lean. So again, I think this works well for the painting. I'm not really going to necessarily be giving him all kinds of like crazy bulges and muscle groups so much as just draping him in shadow. And you can see here, I don't even really need to make a face, given the way he is himself, really kind of in shadow here. I'm actually going to kind of let that face essentially just be that way. What's up, Gus? I am absolutely, again, I'm absolutely cheating when it comes to sculpting like detail on this guy. I am being as bare bones as possible. I'm not even going to make it, like I said, like he's got kind of a face, but like I know obviously Daredevil himself has kind of like an open part of the face, but I mean, not in this picture. It's completely in shadow, so that's what I'm going to do. So I am going to kind of give him lots of faces. I have like 3.6 million faces right now. I might need to go a little bit higher depending on how this works. But I kind of, again, I wanted to start figuring out the best way to get this paint job working here. So thanks, Gus. Again, I'm not I'm not good at anatomy. And again, and if you look at this guy on his own, this is a very interesting pose. I don't know how else you do, but that's another good thing about doing comic stuff, right? It's the anatomy is very clear in a lot of it. Sometimes it's very crazy, but it's very clear as to what musculature they want you to see. So. I'll take that again, even if it's insane and stylized and just overdone. All good. This is going to be This is going to be the fun part to kind of, because there's, if you look at this picture, obviously there's red, but there's kind of like some darker red parts here, obviously, and some really interesting rim light happening there, which I also want to get. So this is where I kind of have to start using my old friend the mask curve. So I want to check a look. So what I would like to do to make things a little easier on myself is to isolate some parts from others polygroup wise, so that I can kind of more easily work with the mask curve, the mask curve. So basically, I just want to kind of get that arm separated. I think that should work. Hey, what's up, Raptor? So here's where, again, like this is one of the things that I really enjoy, like with when I'm doing these comic covers, is getting that comic look. So I am going to change the material eventually too, because I do want to use the comic material, but it tends to kind of be a little bit more cell shaded like. But let's go here, and I want to get my mask curve. Mask curve is awesome. What's up, Anthony? Thanks so much, folks, for turning up. Like I said, this is kind of, I don't know how exciting this is, but I like this part. Like I like the painting part of this, the kind of cell shaded part, and it's one of those things where it looks really stupid, like for a good part of the time, because when you only have a little bit of it done, you're just like, what the heck is this thing we're looking at here? So I have to kind of like remind myself that it's like I said, it's one of those things where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and I have to kind of like remind myself that's the case. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to mask off everything I don't want to paint. So kind of leave behind this little area here, and so I have to kind of actually, oops, let me just go back this way. And so I'm going to start by just making this whole area, black. This area here, most of it anyway. At least you recognize, Anthony, that goat and Groatman are two different things. I have so many people when they call my house, my last name Groatman, which is not common, but it's also not bafflingly difficult to say. And yet I get Mr. Goatman, Mr. Goatman there, and just like you see the R, right? Like you see it. So at least you recognize that. All right, so I'm gonna go here, and just start with the mask left. So there's one little area here I would like to kind of carve in if I can help it, and like this, and then Control Alt Tap to sharpen that mask a little bit. All right, so this is where I'm going to start with the black. So I'm just going to throw it in there, and now there are a few areas. Obviously, I need to kind of remove that from. So let's kind of come up here again. I'm just going to go back to my mask curve again. And to kind of see what I'm doing a little bit more easily, I'm just going to quickly hide the paint, so I can kind of just do this here. I want basically this little triangular area here available for the red. So I'm going to go back to my paintbrush and just kind of see what I can get in here, like this little area here. Like that, and now I have to kind of bring back a little bit. Oh, wait, as you can see here, as I was getting some of that, I want to make sure I don't get that by mistake. There you go. Okay. So now I just need to kind of fix a little bit here. Put that black in there. Okay, so I have that line coming up here. Now I need to kind of come across with the black connector right there. Boom, put in there. Okay. All right, so now I got a little bit in there. I'll get these little guys in here in a minute, but I want to kind of do this, this little rim light here. And again, it's for me anyway, it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to hide the paint again, and I'm just going to start by here. I'm just going to and the mask curve is awesome for this kind of stuff, just because it kind of gives you a nice, easy way to get a very sharp and reliable mask line. I imagine, see, when I see that stuff, I imagine they might use kind of like a pen tool. I don't know at all, to be honest with you, but I would imagine, like, I can imagine them using like a pen tool, almost like an Illustrator thing, to kind of do the cell shading. But I could be wrong, because I would use like something like, I can imagine them using something like Illustrator, because it's just, you can kind of like just make shapes very quickly. But I don't know. I'm gonna hold down Alt. So I'm left behind with just this little area here. And again, because it's going through the other side, I'm getting some other things there. I don't always mind that. Like sometimes you get some really cool designs that way. So I'm just going to kind of get rid of some of this. But some of this I might keep. And again, some of these things, I'm just going to go like to my mask circle and like hold down Control and Alt. I can kind of like carve away some that way as well, right? So like I actually think that's kind of a cool thing to do, is to use the negative mask almost creatively, almost as a way of adding to your, it's sometimes easier to kind of whittle away than it is to get it all right the first time. So I kind of bring in a little bit of a thing here. Control Alt Tap to sharpen it. Go back to my mask circle. Control Alt, kind of knock that part away a little bit here. Yeah, I kind of like that little look we get there. So now we have this. I'm going to do a little bit more here. I'm going to use my circle here, and then Control and Alt to kind of chip away and give me a nice little shape like this, right? Klaus, yeah, Klaus was awesome. Oh my god, that was so cool. All right, so I have that mask there. I'm going to invert that, and that's kind of very vibrant, very, very bright yellowish white. So I'm gonna go with that. Just throw it in there. Maybe add a little warmth to that. I'll hide the masks for a second. If I go here and I want to choose, I want to get my material here. Again, this is just a shader, one of the shader mats that I just kind of adjusted a tiny bit, with to be kind of like to be that comic material, and I just want to get that light in the front here so I can see how it looks. Right. So, oops, that was good. So that mask is a little bit more. This is a little bit more obvious now. I think that also the lighting was a little bit weird. So the ZBrush paint, something like that. So it's kind of bright. So you can see where that is, where that's coming. I want to kind of get the, I want to invert that mask, and let's just go here, get my little mask curve again, and I want to have the black match up here with this little highlight. So I'm just going to mask out everything but that, throw the black in there. I just want it to kind of like match up with it. Again, weird looking. I know it's weird looking, but you know what? This is just going to be the way someone's going to look. So what I'm going to do now, and this is actually really cool. I want to get this dark. I don't know if you can see it very well on the screen, but this is a darkish version, like a maroon or a dark red. And I want to get that on here, but what I don't want to have to worry about doing is painting over the black and having to kind of go back and forth. Now, of course, you can mask, you know, certain colors and stuff, but you can also just use a paint mode, right? So, for example, here, if I select this red color and I start painting right here, well, I'm painting red on red, you're not going to see anything. But if I change the paint mode to multiply, then it's going to start getting darker. I'm painting a darkened version of that red. And because it's at the multiply and it darkens, I paint that over the black. It's not going to change the black at all because multiply just darkens and black is black, right? So I can actually kind of paint this little part here a little bit more easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to poly paint, and I'm going to go to adjust colors, and I'm going to click and drag from my little thing over to the red, right, which is going to basically mask out everything but the red. So now everything but the red is masked out. So if I come up here and hide my color, you see that's what's happening, right? Everything but the red is masked out. So now what I want to do is hold down Control. I'm going to go to my mask circle, and I want to kind of basically I want to mask out the part that I want to keep that red, something like this, right? And maybe like right here. But this part here, I actually want to be that darker color. Okay, so I'm going to go to my paintbrush, and I have red. I'm going to set the paint mode to multiply. Now, again, the paint mode, if you're not sure where that paint mode is, and just before I say too much, I want to go up here and make this a little less perfectly circular because I think it's going to be too obvious. So I just want to kind of like have a little bit of a adjustment there. But so if you go up here to brush, your brush menu at the very, very top, and then scroll down to alpha and texture, I think it is, you'll see poly paint mode. And you can see, you can standard, colorize, multiply, lighten, and darken. So I'm going to use, and I have that set down here in my UI. You can't see it because my little name thing is covering up, but I have a poly paint mode down here. I have that same slider. So I'm going to slide it to multiply. Again, you can't see it, but you can see kind of like it popping up there. So now at multiply, if I come in here and just start painting, I can just put that darkened color in there, right? And I can just Control tap to kind of blur that mask a little bit, just so it's a little bit less obvious. So now you can see kind of, you know, let me undo because it's way too much. But let me just do a quick little like that, and hold down Shift and turn off the add. So now it's just going to smooth color. If I want to, I can kind of come in here and kind of smooth out that transition a little bit just by kind of blurring it, right? Let's do that again. So again, I went down a level, which is why it looks a little bit blocky. But now if I go back up, it'll be, you know, it'll be fine. I need to smooth a little bit this out a little bit more. So it's not so bad. I just wanted to get a little bit of that. And again, I want to get on the top here. I'm going to get a little bit more of a brighter color. Go to, say, a little fuzzy alpha, a low intensity. Right, just kind of hit that a little bit there. Same idea here in the middle of the bicep to get some light on there in the forearm. It's going to have a little bit of that orange on there, kind of brighten this up a little bit. Right? And again, if you don't want to go over the black, you can change the blend mode of your paint to colorize, right? And colorize isn't going to adjust the black either. So like this is one of those things, I want to add a little bit of that orange. I don't want to worry about masking out the black area. So I set the blend mode to colorize. So it's only going to affect the hue. It's not going to affect the lightness or darkness. So black is still safe, right? So again, you can see here, pretty big difference, right, in terms of what we're seeing, and that's kind of what I'm going to be moving on to into the other parts of the body. I want to get that same red now, and before I move on, I want to make sure I get the little parts of the forearm. So I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to hide the color just for a second, because again, I want to be able to see what I'm doing. And that's where kind of these little areas here, which is basically where the little musculature of the forearm kind of like stands out a little bit. That's where you're going to see some of that red showing up still. I'm just going to see what I got here. Okay. So maybe not quite so much. Let's go here and get rid of that. Okay. And now I'm going to bring this back so I can make sure I see what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure that I don't lose the black. So mask that part out. Again, think of as a suggestion. I don't need to do it exactly like it, but I want to have a little bit of that in there as well. There you go. So again, just a little bit of that. Little areas here, you can always come in and reveal them a little bit more too. So I'm just going to match out that little area and then kind of remove that again, just to get some of that in there. You can see here there's a little bit of a yellow in there as well. So I can switch color to this, set my blend mode to colorize, and I can paint that in there a little bit without having to worry about the black getting messed up. So yeah, Gus, when I figured that, when I found that out, it's so huge. It's especially for stuff like this, because again, if you want to kind of change the color without having to worry about the black or the white getting messed up, colorize, it's all good. It's when then of course I want to just take the same darkened color now. I don't even need to have it set to multiply. I can just select that color and just kind of paint it wherever I want it to go. So it's really nice to be able to just switch from blend mode to blend mode. I'm going to come here and get my mask curve, and I'm going to do this little part here. Again, there's going to be a little bit of red, a little bit of the darker red here. So I'm just going to kind of make sure I'm set to regular mode now, because I have that darker red. I'm just going to kind of just put in here. Some of this is actually not very cell shaded. It's a little bit more like airbrushy. So just want to add that in there. You can see before I paint my mask, what I might want to do is invert that now, because here's where a nice little line for the black comes down right here. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to come here and so I have to kind of like do a little bit at a time here and figure out exactly what's going on, because that was not what I wanted to do. Let's come up here. Oh, I have to go this way. So I'm going to do this piecemeal, because this little black area is a little bit weird. Invert that. And no, not invert that. Paint black in there. What is it confusing already? All right, so it's going to come in here and get that area in there. I don't want to get too crazy with this, so let's make sure I do a good job of keeping these things separate. There's a little shape there, which I'm just going to do now. Again, this is where things, just using these mask tools with a little bit of a negative is great. So again, Shift and Alt, Control and Alt to get that little negative and then invert it. Put some color in there. Just get that little part back there. Now again, the chest itself, most of this is actually pretty dark, right? So I'm just going to go back to my trusty mask curve and focus on that right now. Just Control Shift click to isolate the chest here for now. I don't have to worry too much about it. So you can see a lot of dark. So for the most part, it's easier just to mask out what I don't want to be black at this point. Let's do it from the right direction here. So I'm going to bring this up right here and look. So this is all in darkness for the most part, it seems to me. So this is this is the better part. This is the fun. This is the easier part. It's not really overly concerned. Again, I can't see what's going on here, but you have to imagine if this is in shadow, so is this, right? So I am going to be a little bit well, greedy and just say this is all going to be in shadow here, chest-wise anyway. I'm going to have a little bit of, essentially going to leave some behind for like rim light, right? So that for the most part, this is almost all black. And I'm going to, even though you're not going to see this much in the front, I do want the back to have some color on it because I'm imagining he's backlit, so it makes sense not to have that be black. But this I'm just going to fill. Now, of course, the intensity needs to be 100%, so let's fill that with black. Okay. And we can come back in with these little parts here and there, but don't forget too, we do have the D, and they are not dark, right? They kind of, at least not entirely. They have a little bit of something going on there, so I can just really quickly, let's just get that color and hit them a little bit here. More vibrant. That nice dark red and kind of hit that too. Here. That's what you'd expect Daredevil to look like, right? So this is, like I said, you have to trust the process because it does look a little weird at first. Very weird at first, I would say. And that's okay. That's kind of, that's just how it looks at first. Again, it's how it looks when you have only part of the guy painted. And I remember when I was doing a lot of the characters from the X-Men cover that I'm working on. Boy, it was weird. It was weird looking for a while there. Just gonna come in here. Here. Now again, there are some little hatch lines there, which I'm going to have to deal with, and that's fine. I'll deal with them in a little bit. I have a brush for that, so trying to get this little area here. I'll deal with the rest of that in a minute. All right, so that's coming along. And again, I'm going to cut back in here with some of these things for the rim lights and for the little highlights in there. But for now, I'm just focusing on that little area here. Now, again, let's go ahead and figure out, well, I got the yellow Daredevil here. Let's figure out where we can get some of those little rim light parts that we're seeing in that picture. So I'm just going to cut in here. Alt to unmask that. All right, there you go. So let's do that and invert that mask. Let's start with orange and throw a little bit of that in there. And get a little more yellowy. Get some of that in there, right? And again, go to a little reddish orange, kind of hit some of that like this. So you have that little, that little part coming in here. One of the things about using the mask curve, like I said before, is that it kind of sometimes cuts through, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes not so much. So I'm just going to come in here and knock some of that back. It's looking weird. I get it. I know. But it's all right. So let's take a look here at where we're going to start with this other one. This one little guy right there, and that little area right there. Invert that mask. That right in there. It's not exactly the way it looks in the picture, but actually I think it looks okay like that. Oh, that's what's happening. You see, the curve just kind of got away from us a little bit there. You just keep going there. I want to kind of get that orange in there a little bit more. Now I'm just going to mask this part out. Actually, just clear our mask entirely, and then just mask this part out so I can just get in there and without having to worry too much. Black, get that up. There you go. So again, weird looking, sure, but don't worry, it's going to get worse. I want to kind of go here. I want to look at the face too. I'll come back to the legs in a little bit, but I want to get the face because the face is just weird. So we're going to start with Control Shift, isolate the head. And let's just do this thing. So we're going to go here with a circular circle. Make sure that it kind of goes right into the eye like that. I want to bring the horns in so I can kind of see how they, because yeah, I want to make sure they go around the horns there a little bit. And let's come here to the side. Bring this shift, and then I go up shift so you can get a little rotation going on here. Oh, just to go. There we go. I'm just trying to get that nice little shape that you see there. So I'm going to bring out some masks. I'm going to remove some masks. It's a whole big thing. And let's go this way. See here, it's just basically just a little line that goes right up there. And for the most part, it's the whole side of this head here, so that's awesome. So control all that mask off. In terms of the actual like shape over here, it's obviously, you know, it's whatever you think. I'm gonna try and kind of cut that face kind of like this. Then maybe and we'll keep that too, something like that, right? Invert, fill. And now again, you can see if I move this down here, we have some other stuff happening, right? So let's bring everything back, bring the eyes in too, so we can see the eyes. It makes more sense to see the eyes. So up top here, again, just some variations here. So instead of using multiply, whatever, I'm going to grab that exact. Actually, no, I do have to use multiply, right? Because I don't want to have to worry about the black. So I use multiply as my painting mode here for a second. Just going to get it like that. And now I am going to probably mask this off a little bit. So I can come in here with a lighter version and not have multiply turned on. Just go with plain old bright orange-ish red and start kind of, you know, hit it in a little bit. Like that, a little bit more of a vibrant orange here. Little circle here, a little highlight. And a pure white. Highlight. Again, you have that kind of cool little light coming from above, right? So this is actually, again, it's one of those things where I think it's going to start making sense when all is said and done. It just takes a little bit of time. Before I forget, there's one little notch, a little wishbone shape that I want to do. So I'm gonna get my mask. Let's get my mask pen. This one, and I'm gonna change the. I'm gonna give myself a hard edge pen here. See, there's a little bit of red that comes in there, so I want to kind of bring back the whole body so I can see what's what. Okay, so I was painted that. I'm gonna bring this into the other arm, into the arm part. this, and then control alt click this to what's that word? To sharpen it. Or sample that color. Paint a little bit of that in there. You can see here, even at 3.6 million, it's just a little bit too blotchy. So I'm gonna come in here and subdivide one more time, and clean up some of these edges. So let's kind of go here to my mask curve. This is where, by the way, when you have a lot of points, I think that you kind of run the risk of the mask curve being a little slow, just because it does tend to have to think a lot before it masks off. And if you have a lot of points, it tends to think a little bit longer. So just so you know. So I'm not gonna necessarily ask folks to wait around while I do all kinds of fixing, but I do want just to kind of the more egregious areas, I want to kind of clean them up a little bit. I think that'll work. I just wanted to kind of get a little bit that little shape is not exactly my favorite. So I'm going to just notch that part back a little bit like that. Invert, put some color in there. I just wanted to kind of get a little bit of something in there so it wasn't the same. Okay, so there we go. So again, a little bit crazy, but I think it'll work in the long run. So we have the forearm now, and actually I do want to go on the side of the head here. Looks like we have a little bit of a cool thing happening here. So let me just go back to my mask curve, bring this down this way. So here, I'm going to bring this back here, sample that color, go to multiply mode again, so I can kind of get a little bit more of a darker tone, and just kind of hit some of that in here. Just kind of fall off from that highlight there. And you can see here, this little area, it looks like there's a little bit of a brighter thing happening here. So I'm just going to set this mode to colorize so that I can kind of get in there and not have to worry too much about messing up the black. A little bit of darkness in there as well. Go back to normal for this. Actually, multiply maybe. And just kind of get a little bit of darkness in that little area. Again, very brooding. Okay, so let's come here, and you can see here, obviously, this leg here is interesting. It's got it's purple, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to kind of come in here and hit that. A little bit of purple. Okay. And let's see what we got with this guy. This is a bit more of a maroonish thing here. No, just kind of get some of those darker colors in there a little bit. Very weird. All right, so let's go here with this arm, and go here with the full arm. I guess I must have polygroup these little guys separately, which is good. All right, so nothing's on this arm yet. It's actually a good idea that I have them separated. So let's just keep this guy for now, and let's kind of work on the darkness here. So I need to come here to my mask curve, and kind of splits the elbow like that. See if I can kind of get a little part carved out of here. I'll use my mask lasso for this. Carve that part out. It's I'm going to call the purple reflected light. You never know. You never know. It ends up looking cool, generally speaking. So I'll give them. I'll give them my. I'll have faith. I'll have faith in them. All right. So this one like that. Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Who knows how the mysteries of physics? Okay, and light. Let's come here and oops, let's go back to my mask curve. Illustrate my mask curve. Whenever I go to my mask, by the way, I'm reminded that we have things like mesh extrude and mesh project. I never use it, and I wish I did because I've seen like I remember when they first came out, and like Adovich was showing them. It looked awesome, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! I can do so much with this." And whatever I thought I could do with it, I sure as heck forgot what that was because now I have no idea um, what you know what I could do with it. So it's one of those real. There's so many cool tools like that when ZBrush first comes out with them, and you see them in the oops, and you see them in the demo. You're like, oh, this is amazing! I can't wait to use it. And then I just never think to use it. Go back to my paintbrush because moving is not really what I was going for there. So this is the who's going to start making little shapes and making them part of the process here. So again, these little things here. Now I will say this. I want to kind of mention, just in case it's helpful. Um, I made a couple of alphas here, so I can just go drag everything out. I've made some alphas that are designed for the comic part of this. Some of them are just like this, um, and some of them are actually like I actually have one, which I guess I don't have on this computer, which is just a triangle, and I'm going to make that right now because this is one of those things where um, obviously some outfits are useful shape wise all the time. And when you want to kind of do those kinds of like those little triangular shapes that go in there, it's weird, but I don't have an alpha for that. So, by the way, I'm going to drink from my mug. I love this mug. It's my Earl Grey mug. All right, so I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to make a quick little square. And I'm just going to fill it with black. And do a quick little triangle. And some white paint in there. And this is a great alpha. This is a very important alpha. So I'm just going to save this out. Quickest alpha in the world, but it's a very good alpha. I'm going to save this out in 6 to 8 weeks when this thing finally allows me to save it out. There we go. And this will be useful. So let's just go here to what's this called again? This is a cover, and this is Daredevil reference. Okay, try alpha. Now, go to my alpha here and import my try alpha. Make sure our fellowship is down. But now I can come in here and just drag out these little shapes. You can also do like little hatch lines, right? And it's just really quick and really easy. I love it. So yeah, one of those weird ones, but like there are certain alphas like that like you should always have, and I'm always shocked when I find out that I don't. The other one's like a diamond. I just wanted to have like a square that was on its side, and I didn't have one. So like shouldn't we all have one of those? So I can make one. Just throw some color in there. Oh, let's go back to them. Now again, little bit of airbrushy stuff here. So I'm going to switch color to this. Go to multiply, and what's up, Ernie? Thanks everyone again. Thanks for joining me, man. It's really cool just to kind of chill a little bit and do some thing. Hopefully it's not too boring. And again, like this is the kind of stuff that I always like. It's the part the stuff that I like to do. I don't know how fun it is to watch, but I just think it's cool. I'm gonna go to colorize now and see if I can just bring in some lighter stuff here. Sometimes colorize works. Sometimes it's better just to go normal, but you know what it is? My opacity is down too much. So I'm gonna go to colorize mode so I can kind of bring in some orange highlights on there. And then go to a lighter version and turn off colorize, go back to normal. Oh, you know what I should do also? Bring my focal shift back to 0. I was wondering why it was not very subtle. There you go. Color again. Work that back. How dare you, Jamie? How dare you be late? I mean, come on. You missed so much, and you know you can't get it back. I mean, I'm joking. It's good to see you again, Jamie. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, I know times are weird. On Thursdays, yeah, I try and do it at 6 Eastern time, so that it's not too late where you are, but also because so it's typically is a work night, so I can't. I'm not young enough to stay awake that long. But yeah, so as you can see here, we're in the process of painting Daredevil in that comic-y style, and it's a little bit jarring at first, just because it's so weird. Like just in general, as a general rule, like if you take these comic ink colors in isolation, they don't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So you have to kind of like just remind yourself that eventually it will make sense and it'll be kind of cool. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. So I'm going to kind of fill this with black here. Uh, so basically, you kind of see I'm going for I'm trying to kind of emulate this style here. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing as I do this is when I get these little edges here. I want to kind of soften them a little bit, and one of the ways I'm going to soften them is with hatching, right? The kind of comic book hatching things. Um, it's one of those things where it works pretty well in ZBrush, and then when I have to try and paint hatch lines on the 3D prints, I start cursing at myself. Um, Let me just really quickly. I want the shadow coming up from the shoulder to kind of make sense with the head. So I'm just going to try to fake that somehow. Now the reason why it's taking so long with the mask curve is because I have 14 million points on this guy. Just because I needed the mask lines to be nice and sharp, and they kind of weren't cooperating to a certain extent. So I had to subdivide a little bit more than I would ordinarily want to subdivide, but I just wanted to get that nice little line there to kind of connect that a little bit more. So the hatch lines here again, one of the ways to to kind of soften this edge, which I don't always love it. Let me see here. You have to watch the video. Oh, I have to work at 4. Yeah, that's a little early. That's my normal. I'm normally up for work at 5. Not so much for work, but because I have several furry children that are very, very insistent that I feed them at 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I totally get that. For the hatch mark here, again, I went and made some essentially, or found some designs that I just that I thought were useful. Let's make sure I photo this before I bring that in. So I'm going to drag these out a little bit here. Focus shift off, and let's see about just kind of getting some of these lines here, just to kind of soften that transition to touch. Uh-oh. I think I was hitting the wrong button. I think I was trying to draw out paint, and I was drawing out my mask curve, which is not really what I was going for. So let's mask out this so I don't get doubles. And then I want to make this part a little bit bigger. You can also do, and again, like you can see, it's kind of a weird thing. I think it's just the angle that I'm dragging this out on. So what I can do also is kind of just make a mask kind of choke off those lines. I've done this before. It just kind of it makes it feel very kind of like, you know, almost unnatural, but which sometimes is what I'm going for. So um, come on now, like that. So you just kind of get that those lines there like that, to kind of like, you know, make it the touch. Um, and kind of bend that off a little bit. This is just me thinking out loud, and I apologize if this is yeah. But I want to kind of ease that off a little bit. So just gonna go to my paintbrush here and knock that back. Make sure I have it set to paint. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of a lighter color here. So that's kind of where the light's hitting them. Right. So let's just bring everything back for a second. So again, don't forget, like, a lot of this weirdness here you're seeing um, is going to be kind of like, it's not going to be nearly so visible, right? Because it's going to be behind something here. But you can see, you know, it's kind of where we're headed here. Let's take a little. Let's see where the render takes us here. Maybe I'll get the light. Maybe I'll have the light actually hitting him so we can see what's going on. Okay, yeah. So you can see, and this is, we're kind of going for that feel here. If I went with the comic matte, which is a little extreme for this probably, but you can still get some pretty cool results with this. Again, it makes the colors pop, I think, pretty well. What's up, Rhonda? How you doing, man? Oh yeah, again, thanks so much for showing up, guys. Again, this is me kind of like fumbling my way through the comic paint, which again, I think it tends to look okay when it's done. But I just know that while it's being done, it has some issues. I'm gonna go up here to material for ZBrush paint, and just for now, while I'm working, I want to kind of tone down the specularity. I just don't love the spec for this. I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna hide everything but him for now, and I'll keep the eyes and the horns because it's weird without it. And we'll keep the gloves. Okay, so there's the top part of the body. Now the bottom part here, again, it's a little bit kind of hard to make out exactly what's what. So I'm gonna have to just improvise a little bit here, which is just never good. It's never a good idea. It's just because it's just weird. Now again, it's 14 million. It's a lot for the mask curve, I think, to calculate. But let's throw it in there anyway. Okay. So now let's see what we got down here. I'm gonna go down a level if I can. And so much of this is dependent upon like the angle of the leg, which in this case is not exactly the same angle here. So I need to kind of like I need to kind of like think of this in terms of the spirit of the shadow as opposed to the actual position of it in this case. So I'm going to use this and this little guy here. That little leg thing that kind of has a lot of that purple in it as well. So we need to get some of that purple so it doesn't look so weird. Now let's go back to him. Back to these as well because we need to see those. All right, so let's get those. Let's get a little bit more of the little shadowy stuff here. But I tell you, I am. This could not really work without the mask curve. The mask curve is amazing for this. So this part here. Again, I don't know if this is going to work or not because this is just, I don't know if you can tell here, but in this picture, it's kind of got the little hatching going on here as well. So I can try and drag it out. I also made a brush that it's not great. It's not great. But I also made a hatch repeat, so this is actually pretty useful too. Which is basically more hatching, more of a line worth of hatching, which might be useful. Let's just see if this works. Make this an alpha. I think I didn't use this a lot. I think there's probably a reason for it. Let's find out. But yeah, I want to bring this. Actually works pretty well. Never mind. Yeah, about higher subdivision level here, and bring this up. And I can probably just double it up a little bit down here to kind of darken it, or I'll just paint it black. But I also made a brush. I use it sometimes. That is basically it's meant to kind of like have like a trail, kind of like a repeating pattern on there. Yo, what's up, Raul? Guys, you have to see. Raul made this amazing intro, video intro for the B-side, which I would have played if I knew how to do it. I'm not well versed on production. Also not very well versed in sculpting and animating, but you know, one thing at a time. I think that, but you have to see it. I can't wait to use it next time. I can't wait to find out exactly how to do it so I can do it correctly, because it is awesome. Like big props to Raul for doing that. It's so nice of him to do for my little show. So that kind of works. And again, it looks a little bit different from the thing that this was going to be in the way. So you're just going to be seeing that much of it. So I think that's going to be okay. And now I can Control Shift click. No, dude, seriously, Raul, that was awesome. Like, and you just crank that out in no time, which is going to be a problem for you, because now I know that I'll be like, okay, Raul, can you just like crank out 25 more of those for that was such a huge surprise. It was cool because like they cranked this awesome thing for Ian's thing, and I was like, oh, that's great for Ian. And then they also did it for me. Like, me too? Like, I just didn't think that was going to happen. So that was so nice. It was like really, unexpected. Just really unnecessarily kind. It was just, really good folks in the style for you guys. It was really good people. Did not need to do that, and it was really awesome. That was just see what happens. I try and say nice things, and I mess up my mask. So thanks a lot, Raul. Thanks a lot, man. Animal, this is live. And I just saw in Discord that you sent me a message, man. I'm sorry. I don't think to check messages in Discord. I just don't expect anyone to ever message me, so I don't even check it. I just saw that like the other day. So I can help, man. Let me know. Or, I mean, you shouldn't feel bad, because again, like I should have gotten off my butt and made one, but it would not have been what you did, which is awesome. So that's again. So like I said, I'm gonna need your help showing me how to load it, because it's so cool. I'm very excited about that. Oh, that brush I made. So I made a brush. But yeah, Raul, again, can't thank you enough, and that was awesome. I made a brush. I called it Comic Shadow, as if it's going to work, and it kind of works, right? As you can see, it kind of like drags out these little lines here. So basically, I just kind of drag it out, and it's like a little trail. It's like a little just brush that just kind of paints with this. So it kind of works. It kind of does the job. And then we have this weird little shape here. This is what I'm saying this is what I mean when I say, like, I don't like it just looks so weird when you're in the middle of this, and it's like I'm just drawing out shapes and just throwing in some paint, and then masking out some other shapes and just throwing in some paint, and it's like eventually, right, this is going to look like something. Put it in there, boom. You can see here's another little line here. But again, you realize that like there's literally no like skill involved here. It's literally just looking at it and saying, well, there's a line there. Okay, so I'll make a line there. Okay, Hannibal. So you got a Saturn 3 Ultra. Let's go to see like, yeah. I've never used a Saturn. I am an absolute zealot for Anycubic. Like I have never had. I have no problem with Anycubic. I just like it is such a. It just does everything that I need. I almost never have to worry about failed prints. Like it just prints out everything nice and quick. ZBrush is awesome for that. I know that Mike and Bradley use Lychee, and I know that's an awesome program. I don't have any access to it. I don't know for sure how that works, but yeah, man, like I've had so little problems. In fact, yeah, like those I want to make the X-Men cover one issue one STLs available for anyone who wants them, because they've all printed out now. I was going to, I wanted to make sure they're all set up and they all printed out well. But if anyone wants to kind of, get their 3D printing and they want to kind of make that X-Men cover one, because it's really kind of a big project, but it's kind of cool. I have all the STLs of all the people, and they all printed out successfully. So, yeah, Cheetah Box is better than Photon. I don't know if it's Photon or Frozen, but yeah, I use like I think I had a Frozen printer at work, just because we couldn't get Anycubic because my job wouldn't order from Amazon. But I couldn't get the slicer to slice. Again, that might just be user error for the record, but I had a lot of trouble with that. I'm gonna drag out some. Wrong one. And mask out this side. I got little hatching on the side here just to kind of soften that a bit. Summarize. Yeah, so I mean, what it comes down to is, if you're kind of like using something as reference. The main thing, again, you think of it as the way comic inking is done, right? And comic inking is done, I mean, I don't know if this is the actual process, but like it's done, the inks are like the main thing. The black areas, which kind of determine the shadows, are the main thing. So that's typically what I want to start with. I want to start with making sure that all of the really dark, shadowy parts are blocked in. And again, I'm just using the mask curve to kind of like make the shapes as best I can. Or like I said, sometimes it's also good to use the unmasker as part of it. So let's say, for example, I want to have a nice little kind of like half moon shaped black thing, kind of like this, right? I'll just I'll mask out a circle and then Control and Alt kind of mask out to kind of cut away what I don't want, right? And then you get this nice little clean area, right? Now you just throw it in there. So like I would use, like, you can get like that to kind of get those really graphic shapes. Obviously, you can use anything. You can use any alpha that you want. Like I said, I just made my paintbrush. I made an alpha, this triangle. Not a very sexy alpha, but it's really useful to kind of get those kinds of little hatching marks in there. So if I want to kind of like basically have little lines kind of pop out from here, I just use masks and then kind of build around that, right? So like it's honestly, you're just kind of making shapes with your mask and then dumping the paint in there. And the other thing is, again, because ZBrush has paint modes, you can kind of work around the black, right? Because if you want to, you start with, I think I typically start with the light color, and then kind of and then go with the inks, the black, and then the darker colors, the shading, and all that kind of stuff. Again, if I can have the exact same color as the red here, and set the blend mode to multiply, so that I can paint that darker red and not affect the black at all because the black is already dark, right? So multiply is not going to change anything. So it's a thing where basically like you're almost for me anyway. I am literally just painting exactly what I see and trying not to freak out at how ridiculous it looks in the meantime, right? Because it does look a little ridiculous like as you're painting it, because it just it's a bunch of weird shapes. Um, but like I for the most part for the cell shaded look, right? I'm using a really a crazy high resolution model so that the mask curve will do a good job of making those sharp lines. Um, and then just again, you're almost making shapes. It would be really cool, uh, Max on, it'd be really cool if there was a way to kind of use like a pen tool, like you would in Illustrator, for the shapes for masking. That would be awesome. But yeah, and then there's some little airbrush areas here where you know how to just kind of put the light soft alpha and kind of throw it in there. But for the most part, I'm just making the shapes that I see and kind of trusting that it will make sense, because if it looks cool here, then it's going to look okay, when all said and done, theoretically. And again, some of this little area here looks a little bit weird, but you're not going to see it. So I'm not really overly concerned because you're really not going to see it. And if I were to kind of, paint this as a print, I would just probably paint it black because you're not going to see it. So just keep that in mind. Like some of the stuff, it might look a little bit weird from different angles. Like in the back, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm just focused on, again, like I'm letting the dark do a lot of that work here because I think it looks kind of cool. And then you can kind of like just basically bring in those shapes to kind of hit those contours there. And one thing I'll suggest too is that if the sculpt doesn't really kind of work with that, adjust it. Don't feel like I'm not gonna make the exact same shape if my tricep doesn't look like that tricep. Just fit it to the model. And I think that for the most part, that'll do it. And I can kind of come in here again, like you see here, I want to kind of warm this area up. So I set my paint mode to colorize, which is 2 here. So now if I have orange as my color, it's not going to mess the black up at all because you can't colorize black, right? But I can kind of get a little bit of orange in there, warm it up a touch, and we'll be good to go there. As a curve brush, you probably could, but it wouldn't make like a shape, right? It would be a line. So like the pen tool in Illustrator, you can literally kind of build an entire shape, and and then close the shape as a curve. Then it would be kind of like a solid shape. So I mean, you can definitely make this as a curved brush. I think there actually are curved brushes like that. But yeah, for like individual shapes, I could just make like a pen tool where you kind of like just build it. I don't think that's available as part of the paintbrush. If it is, let me know because that would be awesome. Okay, it's like yeah. Has a resin feeder. I wouldn't necessarily rely on that. I mean, I can't imagine there being a time where you're going to run out of resin for a single print anyway. At least again, if you hollow them out, right, you don't really tend to have to worry about that. I don't have any of them with a feeder because I think I have the M3. I don't have the M3 Max. Try to high support the more cutting in there parts. Yeah, high support. Yeah, I think that is part of it, right? Part of it is finding the right angle, on the build plate, so you don't have to worry about that as much. Sometimes you just can't help it. But I think that that's. I think that also again, the more you print, I think the more you realize what works for you and what you can handle in terms of like cleanup and what's too much of a pain to deal with. But again, that's one of the things about Cheeto Box, at least in my experience, is I haven't really had like and it also again depends on what the size of your supports are, because I know that a lot of folks will use like medium supports because I have them like follow. Like if your model is hollowed out, I almost never ever use anything but light supports because I break up mine in lots of pieces for the most part, so that no one piece is overly large or heavy. And so yeah, I've never needed to use well, I shouldn't say never, but I very rarely need to use medium supports. So like the medium supports, they can be a little bit tougher to kind of get off the model without leaving behind, things that need to be cleaned up. But light supports, man, for the most part, they just fall off. And again, that might be a slicer dependent thing too, as well. To be clear, like it might be kind of something that Cheetah Boxes does really well. Um, well, yeah, the resin feeder. I think the resin feeder is one of those things where if the print is going to use more resin than is in the vat, it'll automatically fill it. But without question, um, I don't touch resin. I can't touch it. I'm horribly allergic to it. So now I thought I was done with printing forever, to be honest with you, because it was just too much. But I found just ways around it. When it's printing, it's printing at my the school where I teach. So I hit print and I leave the building like for the weekend, or for the overnight, depending on how long the thing is. But I can't be in the room while it's printing. That's horrible. And my I look like I'm going to a nuclear reactor whenever I take stuff out. I am very, very cautious now. The one thing that I am going to have to kind of sacrifice a little bit is, like we're saying, sanding. Like, because sanding is when you get little dust gets in the air and can get on me. So like I am going to have to kind of be okay with some little bumps sometimes, I think, because I am not going to put myself in that position. So that is going to be something I need to kind of worry about. So yeah, the issue with setting up supports. So yeah, and that's, again, it's going to depend, obviously, like I said, on the overall on the slicer and so forth. But I'll be happy to go through that because, like I said, like I was really, really pleased with all of the X-Men prints. They all came out without any fails, really. I think one of them had a little strand of hair that just didn't quite come out, but I mean, like that was just because I was very quick about just putting it in there with the supports. But for the most part, yeah, I'll be happy to go through that. That'll be kind of a cool one to go through. I'll bring up some of my X-Men STLs, because sometimes you have to get a little creative too, with the STLs for things, because I like to break them up into parts, like always, because I do not paint well. That is not my strong suit. And one of the things that breaking them up into parts does is it allows me to kind of paint them without having to try and get too in between stuff, right? I can paint them as separate pieces if I need to, and then combine them after the fact, which I do a lot. I don't always do it that way, but it's something that I find is kind of useful. But yeah, I don't see. While I'm talking, I'm looking to see all of my printed stuff. All my print files for the X-Men is at work. So I'll put them in. I'll bring them back here. But yeah, cutting and keying, I'm happy to go through that. In fact, I'll do that with this guy as well, because I've done so many prints now that I think I've gotten it fairly down to a point where I'm kind of like confident that I think I know what I'm doing. At the very least, I'm less prone to unpleasant surprises now, which is a good thing. So yeah, absolutely, I'll be happy to go through that. That's actually a fun. Again, like that to me is the fun part now, because it means that I'm done. It means that I'm done the sculpt, and that's because, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sculpting anything, I'm fairly convinced that's going to be an absolute disaster for the majority of the time. And so if I'm at the point where I'm preparing it for printing, that means it wasn't an absolute disaster, which means it's a pleasant surprise for all involved. So that's the fun part, because I'm like, okay, like, and I've actually gotten to that point. I think I was talking about this last time with Tony. I've really just gotten to the point where I need to print stuff, because that's kind of like the validation at the end of it now. It's, I don't pretend that stuff I do is going to, like, cause a big stir when I post pictures of it. So now I get to have, I get to have a model of it that I made, and I always, that to me is actually that's the validation for the whole thing. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of go through that. Hopefully it'll be helpful. It's going to be one of those things where obviously it's different for every model. So like it's not necessarily a one size fits all thing, but the philosophy of it hopefully will be helpful. Yes, Hannibal, it is absolutely the resin. Absolutely the resin. Again, it happened not to keep battling on about my little situation, but like it happened relatively like immediately. Like it didn't happen gradually that I noticed. It's absolutely the resin. It is, and again, it might not be the liquid resin. It might be the dust from sanding. It could be, once I think once you get allergic to it, it becomes essentially an immediate reaction. Like once that allergy kicks in, you're pretty much gonna have to worry about that from forever. So the good thing is, again, mine was so bad that I really was. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to ever deal with this again. But my addiction kind of, got the better of me. But I'm just very, very careful that, I go through boxes of gloves. If I touch a resin print, even if it's been dry for a long time, I'm using gloves. And if I put it down, take off my gloves, like, oh wait, I forgot something. Nope, I will never touch another resin thing without gloves on ever. Like, and you want to, like, and guys, you folks, if you're doing printing, even if you have no sense that there's a problem, there's going to be. I think it's just through sheer exposure, and you do not want to deal with that. So yeah, Ernie, yeah. I mean, I buy several boxes at a time. I don't want to have anything to do with resin again. Like it's absolutely. I was in such horrible pain. My entire, all the skin on my fingers, all of it, like, was just coming off. Like I literally had no. I was wearing like bandages around my. I was like a crazy person. It was awful. So yeah, like especially when you're sanding, if you're sanding your prints, then wear gloves, wear a mask. I was very cavalier about it at first because it didn't, like, I remember seeing videos and everyone in the videos like, make sure when you're around resin, make sure you're wearing gloves and respirator. I was like, well, that seems a little bit a little bit overboard. No, like, it's true. Wear your gloves, wear a respirator. Like, be concerned, be afraid, be very afraid. It might not happen for years, but it will happen if you're not careful. So do yourself a favor, guys. Like, I love to print my stuff, as you may have seen. I can't get enough of it, and I brought this upon myself. I'm well aware, but yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like once you kind of get your safety procedure down, it's not the worst thing in the world. But all it takes, man, is one slip up, and next thing you know, you're going to be in some pain. So yeah, I start, like, I used to, like, I have kind of, yeah, I saw Raul say Mike. Well, but when Mike does finish his work, it's always worth it. So I'll give him that. When I finish my work, sometimes it's not. So I was like, oh, that's what it was. That's what we were waiting for. Okay. But yeah, so you take what you can get. But the thing is too, and again, like, I blame Bradley for this, because like he's, Bradley and Tony, for showing how awesome substance is, so now Mike's gonna, understandably gonna want to, like, take his stuff in there and see what you can do with it, and it's gonna look, awesome. I don't have the patience. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not that I don't have the patience for substance. I guess for me now, like, the rendered image, I guess because it's so rarely kind of like has a big impact. I guess I just kind of don't think about the rendered image anymore. Now I just want the print. So I'm not overly concerned about like the texturing stuff, just because that's, for me, I'm like I'm doing it so I can print it out so I can have it, and that's going to be an issue because I'm really quickly running out of space. But yeah, yeah, exactly right, Ernie. Again, if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. And all you can do is either mitigate the effect, and delay it. Yeah, I know. I've seen. I think those machines are probably like in the tens of thousands of dollars, pounds, what have you. I'm guessing because that would. I don't feel like that's anywhere near yet. And it'll be so awesome to be able just to print it out, like to kind of like have it take the poly paint and print it. That would be kind of amazing. Um, I don't know that that's anytime soon. It would be really cool though if it were. I keep painting with my focal shift turned down, and it's just looking ridiculous. So I want to kind of get a little bit of whoa. This is when weird things begin happening. So I'm gonna hit save because. But yeah, if it could, because it does. I'm not like the best airbrusher. I'm not. I'm still not. I've done it a lot. I'm still not remotely confident that I know what I'm doing. And I see like people like do those awesome things with, like with washes and stuff like that. And I just like, can I just poly paint and just have the printer do it? Nice. I'm gonna get a little bit of that on there. I think maybe I need to kind of get a little bit white in the middle there. A little bit, that's a little too much. But again, yeah, so much of what I was saying, so much of this is just like hoping that this is gonna look the way it's supposed to look, because like I'm looking at, again, I'm literally grabbing like a light pinkish purple for his knee, and that's just interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have thought to do that. A little bit of light in there. This is way too vibrant though. Let's turn this down. Too much of that purple. All right, here we go. That's fine. I think underneath there, I want to kind of get a little bit more of a lighter red. I'm going to set this to colorize and see if colorize. Let's get some lighter color in there. Yeah, so it's a little. That's actually it's coming along. So now I have the other leg. So this is actually not. This is not awful. Again, it's just weird looking, I think. I think it'll make sense. And I'm going to have to figure out what to do on this back here. This is one of those things where I don't know. Yeah. So his foot is dark. All right. So this leg here, not a whole lot of guidance to go with here. So I'm going to have to guess. What's up, Ram? Yeah, I was gonna say, again, Thursday nights or it's a new thing, but I think Ben had said in the chat, like, he's wondering how long this is going to go. This is my plan to do. Like, I whether or not, I hope that you guys enjoy. I hope that you guys join me. I just like to kind of give myself, basically an appointment, because it's so easy, especially during the week, to just kind of pack it in early on and just say I'm just too tired and so forth. But like if I say, well, I'm going to go stream, it doesn't matter whether I'm tired. I'm going to sit down and even if you don't like feel like it, or sometimes once you get moving, it's really cool. You kind of like start you start digging it. So like I love the idea of kind of like getting myself in a situation where Thursday night is going to be comic comic night, you know, and um, on Sundays, on the days that Ian isn't sculpting, that's my obscure Marvel character night. Really having a lot of fun with the Jack of Hearts. I'm really having a lot of fun with that, and that one is going to be printed out huge. That's going to be like a you know, a 6 scale print. I want I want the ones that are the least known, the most obscure, to get the biggest prints. Just because I just think it's so cool to have like those kinds of unknown, kind of more obscure models be the ones that you know, that I have in my little haul here, my little collection. I just think that's going to be really cool. Yes, Thursdays. Yeah, I think again, it's you know, it's a nice relaxing time. You know, like I said, this is at the beginning here. This is kind of a chill. This is a chill stream. I'm just kind of like playing around with the what's that thing called? With the no, I'm saying the paint job. Man, that was tough. All right, so something like, oh, let's make sure this is at 100% black here. You can see we got this little rim light here. We need the rim light. Okay, so I'm just going to just don't know how I'm doing this. Let's just give it a shot. So I need to get that exact thing. Let's go to solo mode. This is how you can tell we're serious. I'm going to solo mode here. Let's get the freaking mask curve, and let's do this thing here. Let's come here and all right. So I'm going to mask all that out. Let's just get that a little better there. Now I'm going to go from this side here because I don't want this to be everywhere. I just want it to kind of be a little bit that. And this is going to be where the rim light goes. Wait, do I end up doing this? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's get a little of this here. And let's fill this. I'm going to add a little bit of a lighter color. That little rimmer. Okay, so come here on. Let's do this here. Let's again. This is I'm gonna take this 100% literally here. So there's a little bit of just an ink line here, but I'm going to actually make that. Throw black in there. Okay. Am I focusing out with the trimmer? No, this is the mask curve, right? So the as opposed to the mask lasso, the mask curve brush, which is again like it's just a really harsh mask brush, which is why I like it. I'm just gonna throw black in there. Oh geez, I love the fact that it is absolutely merciless in terms of how it masks. It's just like, yep, everything from here over, you know, mask. That way I can kind of just really easily get nice clean lines. Because, you know, pens and lassos and stuff like that, they're all right, but they don't have a lot of, they're a little bit fuzzy. Even when you sharpen the mask, it's just, you know, it's just not exactly the way you want it. So I'm using the trim brush, the mask curve. So let's go back to my mask curve here, and I want to get that little triangle here. So I want to kind of get that right up top here, maybe. Boom, something like right there. And then tap the Alt key to get a nice sharp line, and hold down Alt to make it an unmasker. So now it's just that little area. And obviously I don't want that. So I'm going to unmask that. So this is all I want. A little bit of black. Great. Dude, that is true. Like that feels very Hellboyish to me. I think we kind of that's a kind of a cool idea. Let's go with some orange here, and going down the intensity a little bit, and let's do a little bit of lightness right here. And get some of that little bit of lightness right here. And there's a little bit of a go a little bit brighter here. A little bit of a really hot light right there. I'm not going to try and get it exact because I'm already way off in terms of like proportions and stuff, but right here, I'm just going to put it right there, and go to a lighter version a little bit, and go to pure white. Just a little highlight there. Okay. Well, you can see. I mean, it's all right. It's getting there. Again, we're going to pretend. We're going to pretend we don't see the back of him yet. The back of him. I mean, I will go in and put some paint in there, like I said, just because I'm going to end up putting this on Sketchfab, which is a 3D, which is a 3D viewer. So I am going to want there to be, something you can see there. But you can see, again, this is getting there. I feel that for the most part, this will kind of work as a whole. Probably need to get into the D's here and maybe do a little bit of shadowing in there. Kind of like bring this down a little bit down here. Right. So that kind of like layers into the body a little bit more. But yeah, for the back, I wanted to be still. Okay. I mean, for the back, I don't really know exactly, how to work this, to be honest. But again, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it looks, because once all the buildings and stuff are behind them, it might not really be a problem. I'm just going to go here with the red and multiply, and just kind of just start kind of like throwing in some. So multiply again. Just going to darken this up a little bit, and then just go to pure black. Kind of bring some of this in. Again, I'm being kind of really quick about this, but I think that I can kind of just get away with that for now. I want this to feel a little bit more cohesive. So even though this is really, quick, okay with it. I just want to kind of get something in there. Yeah, the back would be a lot brighter. So that's probably where I'm going to go with that. I would probably end up like just hitting this with that kind of a vibrant, something like this, right? To kind of hit that lighter part. Because again, that does kind of track, right, with like the head and the shoulder area here. So that's actually a good idea. Yeah, good call, Hannah. No, good call. Do a little bit of this. This is, yeah, I love the fact that at this point, like when I'm trying to use the mask curve, ZBrush is like, seriously, man, like this is really, let's not do that. This part here is a little bit darker. And this is also a big part of it, in case you're curious, like going back in and saying, oh God, that looks terrible. Fixing that. blur that part back a little bit. I'm going to kind of darken the underside here. Again, and you can see, you know, he is kind of vibrantly colored compared, especially compared to the background. If you bring this out here, you know, like Hell's Kitchen, of course, is kind of drab, so he is pretty vibrantly colored in comparison to that. So I think that works. I think that actually makes sense. I'm gonna do the gloves here as best I can, really fast. I don't think there's a lot to them; there's a little bit, but for the most part, it feels kind of just like a kind of a piece with the with that highlighty stuff we were doing. So just going to some of that here, and yeah, the thing about the feet, and you're absolutely right. The thing about the feet is I'm kind of holding them in limbo right now because I don't know exactly what I'm doing with the base of this pedestal here. Like I might actually be having kind of like a little bit of a like a ridge coming back, a ledge coming back here. But I was really having a lot of trouble with the feet. Like just I flexed this foot a little bit, but to kind of like make it go against there, I was having a little trouble making that work. But I figured, you know, when I go through and make the little architecture stuff here, I might end up kind of giving myself like, you know, kind of a little foothold or a little ledge sticking out that might make it a little bit more straightforward in terms of like where that goes. Because that is a good point. Like that is something I need to kind of like figure out a little bit here. I'm going to use my contrast delta and see if I can kind of like bring out some of the little veiny parts in the hand, because then I can maybe hit those a little bit more with my paintbrush. This is not very contrasty in terms of like the up and down, but when you do have something with a lot of up and down contrast, and you want to just hit like the ridges, the trim dynamic brush is amazing for that. You know, I'm going to turn off Z sub and turn on RGB and turn it way down to like, you know, 30 or something like that, and then just kind of come in here and you can see it because by default it wants to hit the high points to kind of trim it down. So if you have that turned on as a paintbrush, it's like dry brushing. I might want to kind of go to a soft edge here, but like you can see, it does a really cool job. I might even actually want to tone down the crank up the focal shift, but like it just kind of hits the high points. So like if you ever want to kind of like just hit the high points or something like that, just know like a brush like Trim Dynamic is really cool for that. It just, you know, it hits the high points, especially if you're doing stuff like hair and you want to kind of like hit the ridges. It's really a cool way to do that. I don't remember. I'm sure it wasn't me that figured that out. I'm sure I saw someone else doing it. I wish I could remember who it was, but it was really it's just a really cool, quick way to hit the high points. Like the Bird Hogarth high Tarzan high Gretch. Coming here, a little bit of so I have my brush set to multiply, so that I'm getting, you know, I'm painting with the exact same red, but just a darkening version of it. So just, you know, again, it's just a way to kind of like control exactly how much darkening you get. You can see here's a little similar rim light on the glove. So let's do that. Let's get that rim light taken care of. I want to make sure it kind of follows from. I want to make sure it follows from the rim light on the arm, right? If that makes sense. Mask out that part. Then just kind of go into here. I want this to have a little bit of a fall. I want to see if I can keep a little bit of outer edge here still visible, so that way I can just have a little bit of that dark. I want to kind of keep that black line on the other side. If I bring this part in here, get a little bit of an orangey feel to that as well. Now I'm going to invert that, and I'm going to kind of mask out right here, right? And then invert that because I want this to be the continuation of that black. I just want there to be kind of like a nice little black shadow that kind of like continues from the arm, and also kind of like give me kind of like a little bit of outline there. So that's my plan. There you go. So how do I manage that? How do I manage somehow to I managed to do that. The whole point was I wanted to kind of paint that little red area. Friends, not a very bright guy. Let's just try it again. All right. Now I think I just put it in there. There you go. That's weird. Okay. So I wanted to have that little black line coming through there. And now I'm just going to, I think here, I think that it makes, I have that little carved in fold. I think it makes sense to have that be where the rim light ends. So it kind of like hits that little fold there. And it kind of like, you know, goes away. So that's what I do. And I want to kind of go to a little bit more of an orangey feel and just kind of like colorize right now a little bit. Multiply and do the same kind of thing, just darken the area there. I just wanted to kind of like fade a little bit more into the red. And I'm just going to all right, so again, it's really kind of cool. You can totally just paint in rim light, which is kind of neat. Let's do a quick. Let's go back to my trusty triangle alpha and bring in one like right there. Of course, the focal shift really should be back to negative 100 so that you get the nice clean line there. Like this, so I can just use that mask as a starting point, so I can just kind of drag this out. Whoa, I don't even know what's going on here. It's weird. Let's try this again. There you go. Okay, so I just want to have this little line coming right around there. Maybe another one coming like this. Yeah, I mean, it's that the trim dynamic was a game changer for me, just because, like, especially for things like hair, like when you carve in like a bunch of little like ridges and stuff like that, it's just so cool to be able to like hit that. In fact, I want to show you. Before getting close to 8 o'clock here, so I'm gonna kind of like close up this, and again, I just gotta finish the other thing. But we got a lot of painting done on Daredevil. But yeah, before I go, I just want to kind of like, so let me get my. So what I'm working on with my Jack of Hearts, which again, like I said before, I'm really looking forward to printing this dude. I think this will come out pretty cool. Let's go here and open my Jack of Hearts here. Yeah, man, edge highlights. Go fool around. So you can see here with my Jack of Hearts here. So I'm messing around with a lot of noise and stuff like that on these parts. Like I'm really having a lot of fun. Just kind of, again, obviously I have to still do a lot of sculpting, but there's lots of noise. You know, kind of get some of these cool patterns on here. But like, say for example here, like he's got this weird thing where like the zero energy, I think it was called, that kind of like made half his face purple. I wanted to kind of make it a little bit more like not just purple, but kind of like, you know, differently textured and stuff like that. And this is kind of what I want to do. I want to use like the trim dynamic brush with the paint and like really have some of these highlights, these high ridges get hit. So again, like I can kind of come in here and you can see it's only hitting, like this is awesome. It's only hitting the high point. It's completely leaving the crevices alone. So it's almost like you're doing, like a mask by cavity. But it's just a nice little way to kind of like get some of the lighter colors or darker colors, whatever you want to do, hitting those high points. And it just makes them pop. Like this is really kind of cool. Like this is not, there's not a lot of crazy contrasts here, but it still does a really good job of just basically hitting the high point, and it kind of allows you to and again, and you may have guessed, if you hold down Alt while you're doing this, it'll not only go into the crevices, but it'll go into the crevices with your backup color, your secondary color, right? So if I hold down Alt and paint, now I'm going to be darkening those lower regions, right? So I can kind of paint. I can do both. I want to undo that because the color was not pure black. It was like kind of greenish thing going on. But yeah, so now I can come in here and kind of increase some of the contrast by painting black in those areas just by holding on the Alt key. So it's really kind of cool. It just gives you a lot of flexibility with your paint job. Yeah, I was trying to go for that kind of like that. He had this kind of like those little swirly things. That's kind of what I was thinking too. I got to figure out for the head here exactly what I'm doing here for the noise. I'm definitely doing some kind of like noise for the hood, but right now, like the whole torso is all one thing, right? So the torso is all this thing, and I actually just have noise applied, but I have part of it masked off so the noise doesn't show up there. So I'm just like, I'm making it seem like it's applied, but yeah, that's my plan. I got to figure out something to do with this hood. Again, I can apply noise to it. I just want to kind of make it look a little bit more interesting than that. I'm very happy. I'm very psyched about this little ornamentation on his bracer. I was not really sure how well that was going to turn out, and I'm kind of psyched how that came out. That was really kind of cool. This was just, where is it? This. So basically, I did 4 of these. I lined them up, and then I did a bend arc and just kind of turned them into a circle, and then I just applied them, which is kind of, that worked. I was really psyched that actually worked. I was not expecting it to. So, but yeah, as you can see, lots of nano mesh to kind of create these little shapes here because they're all pieces of geometry. And I'm actually really loving this guy. Again, he's very colorful, but I kind of think that it kind of works. So hopefully, I can get this looking a little bit more interesting, a little more detailed moving forward. But I'm just kind of, the pieces being blocked out are starting to look like stuff. So that's cool. Thanks, Hannibal. Thanks a lot, bud. But yeah, so this is what what I'm working on in my obscure Marvel character guy. I'm really psyched to have this guy printed out and try to paint this guy. Really excited about the way Daredevil paint job came out too. So that's kind of where I'm going to be working on this coming week. Is on trying to get the parts of the buildings a little bit more, a little bit more fixed up, a little bit more detailed. You can see here again, like I'm probably I mentioned this before, but like with the Daredevil, there's a the silos and stuff in the background. There he goes. The silos and stuff in the background here. Had to kind of like make my own little noise pattern in Photoshop to kind of get that looking like I wanted. Nice and quick, secret. Oh, see, yeah, and that's see. Again, if I can help, man, let me know. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't think to check messages because it's not something I usually get. But hopefully, I'll be more on the ball this time. So hopefully this was helpful, folks. Let me take a little render here and see where we are. Let's actually bring back everything so we can actually see it. There you go. I have not finished that. Let's see what happens with the comic shader. I don't know how well that works or not, but Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, so zero paints, there you go. But yeah, so hopefully, like at least in terms of the painting approach, I mean, hopefully it wasn't too disappointing because there's not a whole lot of secret to it so much as it is just kind of like, use the mask curve, dump color in, and rinse and repeat. But hopefully that was helpful. And again, I'm going to be working on the rest of the environment a little bit, and then next Thursday, hopefully we'll be at the part where kind of like just creating different types of noise and stuff like that for all the parts, and seeing how we can turn all those primitive shapes I made in the background into an actual scene. So, wait, I'm trying to messenger. Oh, message. So see, I've had people say this. I have to go. I'm bad at messenger too. Let me check to see if you had sent me a message, Hannibal. I'll go check and make sure I accept it. I don't even know where to look. But yeah, I have to figure that out. I'm sorry. I'm not a social media. I'm not savvy. But folks, again, thanks so much for hanging out. Hannibal, Jamie, Anthony, again, thanks so much for sticking around with me tonight. Don't forget, on Sunday, Ian is going to be doing the digital forwards. He's going to be starting the digital forwards. It's going to be an awesome time. I know I'll be there. I know that the other fellows are going to be there as well. So, join Ian, join all of us there to kind of kick off his series. I'm so excited that Ian's going to be here. So, join us on Sunday, and I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern time. So again, mark your calendars. Hope to see you then. Thank you so much for sticking around with me tonight. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you on Sunday/Thursday forever. See you guys.